Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here, and welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here, and I am glad to be here. Corrie ten Boom. Do you know the name? Corrie ten Boom. I'm sure many of you have heard her name before. She wrote a book called The Hiding Place. And it was called The Hiding Place because she was a Dutch woman, along with her family, who hid Jews in their house during World War II for quite some time. And eventually, though, their efforts were discovered. As a result, Corrie and her sister Betsy were sent to a concentration camp. But miraculously, they were allowed to keep their Bible in secret. Nobody knew. They smuggled it in. The barracks were overcrowded. There were no individual beds. The building was designed for 400, and they crammed 1,400 in there. Everything was soiled, rancid. And Corrie was discouraged and nauseated one day, and when she decided to lay down, she immediately sprang back up, started swatting herself because she was covered with fleas. She looked at her sister and said, "Betsy, how can we live in a place like this?" And her sister said, "Corrie," she pointed to the Bible, "He's given us the answer. He's given it to us before we even asked for it, as he always does." And she quoted a scripture that read something like, "Comfort the frightened, help the weak, be patient with everyone. See that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek good to do one another. Always seek good to one another and to all. Rejoice always, pray constantly, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God." And that was the point she wanted. Give thanks in all circumstances, not just in those circumstances that are pleasant. She said, fleas are a part of the place where God put us. They began holding Bible services in the barracks. Couldn't understand why the guards didn't bother them. They did this for 2 services a night, and they continued on. One day, Corrie was out gathering wood. She came back, and there was her sister waiting for her, looked really excited. She said, "I have something to tell you. You wonder why the guards have never come into here?" She says, "We were knitting socks today, and we had a problem, and it was creating a conflict, so we decided to ask one of the guards to come in and help us. The guard refused, absolutely refused to come into there. Why? Why do you think? Because of fleas. The guards would not come in there because they did not want to get the fleas." So in her own words, Corrie said, let me find it here. In her own words, she said, "My mind rushed back to our first hour in this place. I remembered Betsy's bowed head, remembered her thanks to God for creatures I had no use for." There was no way that Corrie was going to be grateful for those fleas. So does gratitude spare us from our sorrow, our sadness, our grief, and our pain? No. What does it do? Gratitude soothes our feelings. It provides us with a greater perspective on the very purpose and joy of life. Whether we are right in the middle of a pandemic, or we're experiencing devastating loss and grief, or we're experiencing the joyful moments of life, we must never forget to express gratitude. This last year, I picked 2 words, compete and complete, to guide me throughout the year. I am focusing in on the word complete right now. What are the ingredients that I need? What are the ingredients that you want to make sure that you've got all of the ingredients so you can begin to bake your cake? You remember French chefs get all the ingredients out before they start. The number one ingredient, I've concluded, we cannot start baking. We cannot put the pieces together without gratitude. So as we focus on our success, the first ingredient has to be gratitude. So remember the fleas. Regardless of our circumstances, when you focus on gratitude, your eyes and ears will hear and see opportunities they would have never seen otherwise. Gratitude illuminates the lessons from our past and inspires us with hope for our future, so that we can make better choices in the moment. Remember the fleas. If you'll join me next week, we will talk about a little seasoning that will make gratitude that much more delicious. So our assignment this week is, how can we be grateful for all of the things, all our circumstances? I look forward to talking to you next week. We're going to make this life meaningful. We're going to make this year meaningful. Have a meaningful week. Onward, upward, and outward. Bye-bye.